So yes, hi, I am Chris Nicholson, your newly elected member of the RTD Board of Directors for District A, which goes from, it's basically central Denver south of Colfax. So I-25 out to Lowry, Colfax down to about Mississippi, and then a little bit of downtown. So yes, I can. Is that better? I gotta eat it, basically. Yeah, I can do that, trust me. So what I'm going to do today is basically run you through an update of what RTD has been up to, what we have in the works, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then address some of the questions. I'm sure you have a number of outstanding things you would like me to talk about. So I'll just dive right in. So this is current as of the end of last month. So there may be one or two things that have changed since, but it's only been a week or so. So, yes, I Renata, I will do my best. So yeah, I'm going to cover a number of things from just an overview all through the various initiatives that we've been up to, service changes, and you can sort of see here. But first, I'll start with just an overview of what we're doing. So for those of you who don't know, many of you have probably been around Denver for a long time, or Colorado. RTD's been around since 1969. Originally, it was an appointed board that was chosen by first the governor and then members of the various cities, councils. Now it is elected. You have 15 members. I am your member for the next 4 years. We are the only multimodal transit agency in Colorado. We have bus, light rail, and commuter rail. So the big silver trains, that's commuter rail. The white trains, that's light rail. And the buses, everybody knows what those look like. We have one of the largest service areas in the country. I believe it's in the top 3. MTA, I think, is number 1. But we cover 2,300 square miles. Gigantic service area. 8 counties, more than 40 municipalities, 3.1 million people. So big population, lots of places to cover. 85 local bus routes, 12 regional bus routes, 5 direct airport routes, about 1,000 transit vehicles, 9,700 bus stops, down from a little over 10,000 before the pandemic. Couple hundred accessoride vehicles. And a wonderful service, Access on Demand, for those of you who have a qualifying disability, a mobility issue, who have trouble riding the bus. We offer not just a shared ride, a van that pickups and drop off, but access to Uber and Lyft at a substantially discounted rate. So we're talking, right now it's about $1,600 in free Uber trips each month. That's going to come down a little bit because of changes we're making to try to make the program more sustainable, but it is still going to be a $800 program per person with you only have to pay the same cost you would to get on the bus. So I highly encourage those of you who have disabilities, who have mobility issues, if you know someone here who does, Access on Demand and Accessoride are fantastic programs, and I will happily work with you to help get you qualified for those. So that's something I'm highlighting that here to make sure that we can coordinate with any of you who are interested in this. We have 4 commuter rail lines, the N, the B, the A, and it's the 4th one. Oh, the G. Are the 4. 66 vehicles, 27 stations, and then we have a gigantic, relatively speaking, light rail system with over 60 miles of tracks, 57 stations. We as a result of Fast Tracks and the programs before it, we built out a lot of light rail in the community. The mission, we make lives better through connections. And our goal is to be a trusted, and I emphasize that word because it really is fundamental to whether or not you're going to use public transit, is if you trust that we're going to get you there. Leader in mobility, delivering excellence and value to our customers. You can see our list of values up on the screen there. Our four strategic priorities over the last 4 years, and we're actually going to rewrite this document, our strategic plan, next year. I'm very excited to be a part of that. Delivering value to the community, excellence in customer service, employee ownership, getting great people to buy in to being a part of RTD, and financial success, making sure we're good stewards of taxpayer money. We get most of our revenue from sales tax. When you go out and buy stuff, that is how RTD is funded. We get 1% of everything you do. We get about 25% of our revenue from federal grants. That ends up being about $200 million. And then we get about 5%, which is about 50 million, 60 million these days, from fares. We have intentionally focused on reducing fares in order to reduce the barriers for access. We've lowered the senior fare, for example. We've lowered the fares for individuals with disabilities, with, what am I trying to say, who are low income. We have made it free now for anyone 19 and under. So we have intentionally said we are not going to try to make back 20, 25, 30% of our revenue from fares because we want as many people to ride as possible. Financially, we're in good shape. Now, who knows what will happen if Donald Trump destroys the economy? That being said, because we rely on sales and use tax, and people are still going to have to buy things regardless, RTD has a fairly stable source of revenue, and our GM CEO has done a phenomenal job. Deborah Johnson has done a phenomenal job of preparing our reserves for the future. So we have about $1 billion in spare cash for various different things that we're preparing for. So if something were to happen, if there were to be a recession, we're in a position where it's unlikely we would have to dramatically cut service. This compares to other agencies around the country that, even while they're not in a recession, are having to potentially cut significant service. And so that's something that I'm really happy about, that we're not in that position. Sorry, I'm going to keep trying, Renata. I'm working on it. We published our fiscal year 2025 budget. It's online. It's really long. If you're interested in that, you can find it on our website at rtddenver/budget. It gets into detail on all the things we're spending money on, all the different departments. If you're into that kind of thing, it's a fun read. Our strategic initiatives, the things that we're focusing on in delivering on our priorities. RTD for a long time was in an expansionist mode. You were all here to see us grow and add more light rail and add more commuter rail and try to deliver as much service as possible. And in the process of doing that, there's a lot of basics in terms of running the buses and trains on time, in terms of doing the maintenance we need, that were neglected. And so a lot of the reasons, as you've seen disruptions over the last few years, that has not been from catastrophes. That has been from many, many, many things that did not get taken care of. RTD did not go to the clinic, to the doctor for a very long period of time. And so once you had someone step into the role of CEO who cared about making sure that we were taking care of the agency, we started doing a lot of the maintenance that had not been done to make sure that things were safe, to make sure that we could continue to operate in perpetuity. So that's what Back to Basics is. People power is just optimizing around, we want to get more great people at RTD. The buses, the trains, they don't drive themselves. We want to make sure that we're able to staff that. A welcoming transit environment. I'm sure many of you have been on buses and not felt great. I'm sure you've been on trains and it's been a little not great. We really prioritize making sure everyone feels safe. The RTD tonight is having a conversation. I'm actually, I can see it on my screen right now, with our chief of police to talk about what we are doing. We're really proud of, and this will probably come up later in the presentation, we have reduced the number of calls to RTD security, the PD, by half in the last year. And that's with the number of people who are getting our application, who are able to make those calls, who are engaging, going up. So people are more and more aware that they have that option, but they are not seeing the need to reach out to us, which I think really bodes well for what we're able to do. I heard actually just before this meeting that, and again, not saying he's good for doing it, because I don't like Donald Trump, but we were recognized by the federal government for our progress on that issue. So very, very excited about that. And then just also building community connections. And quite honestly, what I'm doing here tonight is a part of that. We really are trying hard to get out, to go to events, to let people know what we're up to, what's going on, because once someone understands how to ride transit, what it feels like, how to make it easy for themselves, what expectations to have once they've done it a couple times, that's a skill that becomes very easy for them to make use of. But when you've never done it, it's imposing. It doesn't feel like something you want to take a risk on. And so you get a lot of people who would benefit from RTD, but they just don't feel like it's something for them until they've tried it. So we're really trying to address that and be more welcoming. I think I just sort of went through each of these slides. As part of Back to Basics, as I mentioned, we're doing a big downtown rail reconstruction. I live a block away from the downtown rail. We're ripping all of it out and replacing it with new rail to make sure it'll last another 30 years. So very excited to have that happening, but it's a lot of construction, unfortunately. We're doing a lot of really great hiring initiatives. If you know anyone who is looking for a job, if they like driving, we are hiring bus drivers and we are paying a $4,000 signing bonus. So please tell your kids, tell your friends. We need people. Mechanics as well is the other one. We have upped our code of conduct. So we have a more, not aggressive, but a more strict code of conduct to say that, there is a standard of behavior that we are requiring of you to be on transit. And quite honestly, you can just describe it as be a decent human being. Treat other people with respect, recognize you're in a shared space, and we have committed to ensuring that that is taken seriously. RTD a couple of years ago decriminalized fare evasion so that we wouldn't be sending people to jail for not paying a fare. We do enforce it through citations, but we are also increasing the number of police that we have at RTD. When Deborah Johnson started, that number was around 36. It was a very small police force for 2,000 square miles. We're at about 150 by the end of this year. We're 100 now, 150 by the end of this year. And I will say we've gotten dramatically more engagement from the DA's office, from the DPD, because we can be an effective partner with them by having that kind of staff. So I'm excited about what we're going to be able to do to make people feel safe on transit. I don't want to criminalize poverty. I don't want to see us turning, the transit into a police state, but we need to inspire trust in what we're doing. And I think, we've got teams that are really committed to that. So talked about that, talked about community connections. I'm not going to go into, more of that. Personal security, talked about that. We have a webpage devoted to it if you want to learn more. And I will send, by the way, this presentation to CL, and she can circulate it to all of you. So if you want to look through and click on these links and things like that, you can do that. We are doing 24-hour policing now. We have a detective bureau, and that's because there are crimes that happen in multiple jurisdictions, like copper theft, which require meaningful investigations to catch the bad guys. We also have, and I think we do have it on here. We got our first canine units, which are bomb sniffing dogs. And they're cutest things in the world. I got pictures with them. They're great. I want to start bringing them around to community events. But So if you go to Union Station at the right time, you'll see the dogs and the handlers, and it's fantastic. Got all of those. Vehicle enhancements. With regard to security, we now have the ability to look in live on any bus in the system in real time. So if we get an alert from a driver, hey, there's something that might be going on, if you go on your phone, on the Transit Watch app and say, or call or text, hey, there's something on my bus, here's the bus number, we can actually go look at it, see what's going on, and then meet that bus with an RTD police officer to address the issue in real time. And this is something we do on a regular basis. So we take it really seriously. We want to respond to customers. There's a button in the cab that lets them do a silent alarm if something's going on. They can stop the trains, and they do. So we're really trying to address these issues when they come up. We are, in terms of the facilities upgrades, we're also replacing the seats. I don't know, for those of you who've been around for a while, you've probably seen the cloth seats that we have that are like nice and furry or whatever. The problem with those seats is you can't ever tell if they've been soiled. And so you have to, it's not a great experience. So we're replacing all of them with a really nice vinyl. We've already got it on some of the light rail vehicles and on the mall ride, and that's going to be rolling out across the agency, and it's just going to make the whole experience a lot nicer and easier to clean. We're doing things like not all the elevators, but we're starting the process of, instead of having the elevators close at stations, which allows people a place to do drugs, they'll be open by default and then close when you get inside. And we've seen that dramatically reduce the number of people doing drugs in the elevators. So, small changes, but have a meaningful impact. We have separate sectors for each of the transit police. I believe we are in sector 4 now. Yeah, that's right. And that's intended to make sure that each of the areas is getting, a reasonable amount of coverage, and we have people ready to respond. As I said, we've made significant progress. 52% decline year over year in security calls, 82% decline in drug activity on the system. We know what people are looking for. We understand the challenges and the image that RTD has, and we want to address it. And not just we want to take it as seriously as we can, put the money, put the resources, and make sure people know what RTD should be like and what their behavior should be like when they're on RTD. As you can see here, we've had significant decline in calls for service year over year. We're at basically less than half of what we were, from last year. Similar sort of thing. The Transit Watch app. We have an app on your phone, for those of you who like smartphones, where you can report incidents when you're on the bus, the train, etc. You can also call and text. It's one of the only services we have where we do immediate responses via text message. And so we will get back to you. You will get a person, and you will be able to tell them what is going on. And so I really encourage you, if you ride transit, to put that number in your phone so that you can access it in an emergency, in a moment where you need to report something. And like I said, I'll share this around. Number of incidents has been going down significantly, which is really exciting to see because, especially when it comes to things like drug activity, nobody wants to be on a train with someone who is doing fentanyl. This has happened to me. Boardings has been flat. The biggest reason why, I'm sure you've all read about, we're doing a ton of maintenance on the light rail trains, and that has meaningfully cratered the quality of service. We've seen reliability drop to 50%, 60% instead of 90%, and no surprise, people don't want to take your trains when they're not sure if they're going to get there on time. So that is getting fixed. I'll get to it in a second, but we're working very hard to resolve those reliability issues. But we've seen growth in our bus networks. We have seen decline in our light rail. So There is still demand out there. We can see that with the buses. It's just going to take getting people's trust back to get us back with the light rail. We measure on time being, they can be no more than 1 minute early, so we don't want you there too early, or up to 5 minutes late. Our on-time percentages are actually, it sounds low, and it unfortunately, it is, but we're at 81%, 82% on-time percentage when it comes to buses. Obviously, we'd like that to be higher, but if you look around the country, that's actually close to the national best practices. There are a ton of large transit agencies that can't even break 80%. So I am excited at how well we're doing, but we need to be delivering, we need to be meeting expectations regardless of what seems easy. We need to be delivering service that gets people what they expect. You can see it here. For local routes like the 3, we're at nearly 80, we're at 82.5%. For the Flyer, we're at 86%. For the service availability, when you see service availability, what that means is that's whether the bus came at all. So if your bus was late, that's on-time performance. If your bus just disappeared, what we call a ghost bus, then that means a drop in service availability. So most of the buses come on time, but if you're at 99.55%, that means 1 out of every 200 buses is just not going to come, and that's we'd like that to be higher. You can see there's a particularly painful drop when it comes to on-time performance for the light rail. My hope is that we get that resolved this year. The service changes. We do service changes 3 times a year. The reason this process is important, and I'm going to highlight this one for you guys, because I know, having come here pretty much every meeting last year, increasing the frequency of the 3 is a big priority for this group. The service changes are when we make that decision. So there are going to be opportunities for you guys to weigh in as a group and say, we like this, we ride it, we will ride it more if you make it every 30 minutes, but it's just not something we can do when it's every hour. It doesn't work for us. So I think making RTD understand the importance of that, the importance of running the 3L later into the day, there's a real opportunity there to get that message across, and that's how we get them to say, okay, let's invest in this. Let's run this every 30 minutes. Let's listen to these folks. And we've seen successes there. The big one, the 73, is the bus on Quebec. That is now going to be running every 15 minutes. So we were able to get in District A service that we've been trying to increase our the number of routes that are running every 15 minutes, and because people were showing up, because they started using it, we were able to justify getting an additional bus route to every 15 minutes in central Denver. And I'll tell you, one of the challenges that we face right now is that there are a lot of other communities that have less service than we do. There are, you go up to Longmont, you go down to Parker, Highlands Ranch, we have the best bus service of anybody, of any part of the entire district. So anytime we want to justify, you should give us more, we have to demonstrate that we're really going to use it. That's the challenge when it comes to getting more service for central Denver. We've also made scheduling changes, timing changes for the light rail. We are trying to make sure people make their connections. That is not always easy to do. Life comes in the way, delays on the buses, on the trains. But every time we do this, we make updates to try to address some of these concerns and be more accurate. We make seasonal adjustments. So in a lot of cases, you have routes that serve schools. You need to run those buses really frequently when you're serving a school. When the school is out and it's summer, you don't need to run the buses nearly as frequently. So those are the kinds of changes that we look at for that. As I mentioned, We're doing some major updates and major improvements to the rail lines as a result of, honestly, the Public Utilities Commission saying, you guys haven't done this for 30 years, you really need to, it's unsafe. And so that's where the delays have come from. We have said publicly by the end of May, they will all be gone. We will be done. And so if that is the case, and I believe it is, I believe our CEO, you will see a dramatic increase in reliability because those slow zones where we have to go 10 miles an hour just tank our ability to be on time. So we're talking about the rail inspections. We do regular rail inspections every 90 days. Talked about the slow zones, the speed restrictions. We have a map of them, more speed restriction stuff. This is the downtown rail reconstruction I talked about, the loop in the business district that hadn't been replaced in 30 years. So they're ripping all of it out and they're replacing it with new rail so that, it works. We have a Vision Zero initiative. Basically, unfortunately, very sadly, and it's honestly one of the more painful parts of my job, there are a lot of people, it happens, I get an email about once every week or two about someone getting hit by an A-line train. Just last week, in fact, you probably heard about the mall ride, someone got hit. That happened in front of my apartment building. I walked out my door and I was late for a meeting because I went to talk to the RTD staff that were there, and I mean, getting those emails is the worst part of my job. Bar none. There's nothing more upsetting. So we are doing everything we can, working with mental health professionals, trying to have more personnel at the stations to try and address what is a really painful mental health crisis. And unfortunately, there are some times when it's not someone trying to do this intentionally. The one that happened in front of my apartment, it was a gentleman. It was someone who was here for a conference who was just running across the street and he was looking at his phone and he didn't, and so it's just a reminder that, you have to pay attention, and it's not his fault, but it's really, anyway. The BRT. I get more questions about this than anything else these days because my district, the top end of my district is Colfax. And for those of you who drive, it is a mess on Colfax right now. The construction is really disruptive. It is making it tough for businesses. But when it is done, we will have a phenomenal center running bus rapid transit that comes every 4 minutes and 20 seconds, that has platforms in the center of the street so it's easy to get, and that are isolated from the sidewalk so we can keep them empty of people except the ones who are using the system. Phenomenal shelters. And this, by the way, is, well, it's on camera, but not for, this is not a promise from RTD, but something I'm very excited about. By June of 2026, we will have all of the project up to Colorado Boulevard finished, which means we will be able to start running the buses on Colfax basically as BRT. So we'll have the light timing, we'll have them stopping in the center of the street. So it'll be an opportunity for people to see what this is like and get the benefits of it even before we have finished the entire project. We won't be running the new buses or those sorts of things, but it's something that I expect will, once people have the opportunity to try it and can get from downtown, can get from their events, their restaurants, all of the things people go to on Colfax, I think it will be worth the pain, but I acknowledge that it's not fun right now. The mobile app, if you don't have it already, is a great way to figure out where our buses and trains are. It's not on the slide, but again, I will mention this. We are merging all of our services into one mobile app. So you will be able to get the transit watch to report crime, the live tracking of the buses and trains, and the ability to buy tickets and manage your mobile fares using that. All of that being said, and this is my favorite thing that's going to happen this year, we are rolling out, and we are going to do it before a lot of transit agencies in the country, tap to pay. So you will be able to tap your iPhone, your Apple Pay, or just your credit card or debit card and walk on. You will not need to think about cash anymore. You will not need to worry about, and this is exciting with it, for folks who are seniors, you will have the opportunity to enroll your credit card or debit card with your senior discount so that when you tap it, you get your discount. So yeah, New York does this, it's great, and I highly encourage everybody to set it up because you obviously should get your discount. You can always pay in cash and that kind of thing, but yeah, we're really excited. This is rolling out Q3, and it's gonna be really fantastic. Zero fare for youth, we have for a year now had free for 19 and under. We will keep that going in perpetuity. Tell your kids, tell your grandkids, tell your friends, they get to ride for free. It's a really wonderful program, and we've been getting a ton of engagement from it. We are doing a big study to look at all 9,700 bus stops to understand where do we have benches, where do we have shelters, where is it easy to, which ones are accessible, which ones are not so accessible, so that we can address both ourselves and with partners making the system better to use. And unfortunately, that had not been done for a few years. We have an online performance dashboard that you can look at to see all of the metrics, but quite honestly, you all have my email, or you can get it, just ask me. But if you want to know where we're going, you can find it out there. Thank you very much. I am happy to answer questions. Looks like we've got two of them up front.
I can tell you sometimes. No, hold on. I come into the microphone, I can't. Where is it? I drive over and I park.
We want everybody.
I drive over and I park at the Walmart grocery store so I can get the 83 limited that comes every 20 minutes to get downtown instead of waiting for this for an hour.
Yep.
So that's when you bring it to every half hour. And at Florida and Parker Road, where the 83 limited goes, they could use, other than a mound of dirt, a bus bench there.
Thank you
And cherry
for.
pick, but I've told you that 5 times.
Yes. No, the usability improvements is a big priority for us because we know that there are a lot of people who want to ride the system, but they don't want to stand at a bus stop for 20 minutes in the sun. And so it's, relative to the cost of running bus service, improving our infrastructure is not that expensive, and often the cities where it exists will work with us on that. So yeah, it's a big priority. So. I think Renata had her hand up.
I was wondering if you could go over again the program that gives people money every month for Lyft or Uber. And the reason I ask is we have been on one list with, I thought it was Dr. Cog.
Yes, they have a similar program.
Okay, what is RT? I thought it was the same program. What is RTD's program? And
So-
how do you get on it?
Yes, so we have, it's two programs that are linked. So the main program that's been around for 20, 30 years is called Accessoride. And that is the ADA requires us to offer service to people with disabilities.
Okay.
Whether that is they're in a wheelchair, they just can't walk far. I mean, we literally, if you can't walk to a bus stop that is a half a mile or 3/4 of a mile away, you qualify. Like it is an expansive definition. If you have vision impairments, macular degeneration, cataracts, where it's difficult for you to navigate to a bus stop, you will qualify. There is a form on the website that you download, print out, and fill out. You fax it or mail it to RTD. You then go to a doctor, basically, and they do they check you out and they fill out a form that RTD has that says you qualify because of X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And then, unfortunately, it's a big process.
We're running out of time. Why don't you send that link to me?
Yeah.
And we'll get it out to people.
Got it.
Okay.
Will do. But yes, I will. I'm happy to work one-on-one with any of you who have questions about this and connect you up with the people at RTD who can help with it.
One quick question, because we've got to wrap up. We've got another big.
Yeah. I will also give you guys my cards, so you can. Yeah. I think
They
we're
have,
not-
they have
Yep.
said Alameda. They have said Alameda will be the next BRT. Is that correct?
That's. I mean, I know it's one of them. I don't. I mean, I think it's we're working our way through on. Oh, you mean in terms of the next? Yeah, I know what you mean. The next two are Federal Boulevard and Colorado. Those are the next two. Federal is going to be first because we've already got exact plans for that. Colorado, they're still working on. So. Yep. Thank you so much, all of you. I'll leave my cards over there.